agent. Okay, so what we are going to do is we know already like DevOps is all about building as well as running all of your software faster and easier. But now, like GitHub Copilot agent, this means it is kind of taking this further to the next level by acting like a smart helper in the process. So they don't just maybe follow the steps, but they can also understand the work, suggest the improvements, as well as handle the routine task automatically. So this means teams can spend less time fixing the issues and more time creating the new ideas. Okay, so it is a fresh way of looking at DevOps in the age of AI, and we are going to explore that. But before we start the session, quick introduction. Myself, Nandadeep Nachand. I am from Pune, India, Microsoft MVP as well as Microsoft Certified Trainer, author of these three books, including SharePoint Framework, SharePoint Hybrid, and Viva Connections, as well as author of Udemy course onto the SharePoint framework. And then onto the right hand side, here are few of my social media handles to get in touch with me for any future discussions. And with me today is Smita.
Hello all, myself Smithanasan. I'm from Pune, India. I'm having total 17 years of experience in Microsoft technology. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I'm author of these two books, and these are some of my social handlers by which you can get in touch with me.
All right, so the agenda that we are going to see over next 30 minutes is we will see like why GitHub, then how Azure DevOps and GitHub Copilot they work best with each other. And again, the exciting thing we are going to talk about model context protocol or MCP, and then we will see like how we can have the MCP server running for our Azure DevOps as well. All right, so let's get started with very first thing like why GitHub itself.
So when we ask that why GitHub, the answer comes down to three key strengths that make it a powerful choice for any modern DevOps or development team. Okay, so let's check one by one. So the first one is a developer first. So GitHub is built with the developers in mind. So it's not just a place to store the code, it's also a platform that streamlines how the teams collaborate and build the software together. So, with tools that make the collaboration smarter, development faster, and everything more secure. So, GitHub also makes it easier for developers to focus on writing the quality code as well as solving the real time problems and not getting bogged down in any of this tooling issue. The second one is the enterprise grade. So GitHub is not just for the open source project or for the small teams. So it scales to meet the needs of the large enterprises. So whenever you are a small startup or a global organization, GitHub always offers the performance and the security you need to support your team at any size. So it integrates deeply with your existing system, supports the compliance, and helps standardize workflows across the board. So the third one, it is AI powered. So with GitHub Copilot, GitHub is also leading the way in bringing AI into the developer's workflow. So the Copilot helps the developers write the code faster by suggesting the context aware snippets and even completing the entire functions. So it's like having an intelligence assistant right in your own ID. So speeding up the routine task and boosting the productivity without sacrificing the code quality. So in short summary, the GitHub stands out because it's developer centric, enterprise ready, as well as the future proof with AI. So giving the teams everything they need to build the software smarter, faster, as well as with the securely. So with that, let's go ahead and check for the demo.
All right, so now that we will keep it very simple, we are going to get into our first demo. So let's say, for example, you have invested into Azure DevOps. So far, you have been using Azure DevOps, and then when we look at these two platforms, Azure DevOps and GitHub Copilot, or maybe GitHub, um, these are not kind of an competing platform, but these are kind of an complementing each other kind of a platform. So maybe now let us look at the scenario like wherein your code remains into the Azure DevOps, but GitHub Copilot is used into the IDEs like Visual Studio Code. And again, just to note, like it is not just limited to Visual Studio Code, but apart from that, for example, if you are using any of the other IDEs, including um, NeoVim, JetBrains, and so on, even you can use GitHub Copilot very effectively. So we know, like probably, let's say, for example, you have made all of the investment into the Azure DevOps, and you are taking advantage of things like analytics charts and everything, and now you can get the data that you want. Okay, so let's say, for example, I will just quickly go into my browser. Just give me a moment. Right. So here is the browser, and then from here, at least you should be able to see like we do have our code which is lying into the Azure DevOps. Okay, so let's say, for example, in this Azure DevOps, you have made various investment by creating your boards, your work items, and everything. But now that the future directions is to go into the Git, start using GitHub for your source repository, as well as using GitHub Copilot, because it is a kind of an enterprise ready solutions. But again, since we have made a huge investment into Azure DevOps, let's say if we want to continue to use work items from Azure DevOps, but probably want to make or leverage the capabilities of GitHub. So in simple words, like mostly your project managers or maybe the higher management team, they want to use Azure DevOps just for viewing purpose, the boards and everything. At the same time, the developers, they want to continue using GitHub so that they will be able to use the latest and greatest enterprise ready features of GitHub, as well as GitHub Copilot, including code suggestions, auto completions, as well as the security features like Dependabot, um, code scanning, and all those kind of a thing. Okay, so let's say, for example, we were going to maybe look at the website which is called as Fabricom. So here, let's say we have got code called as this, and then this is the Fabricam solutions. Okay, so maybe let's consider a story like we are Contoso, and we have acquired this organization called as Fabricam. Okay, so now that we need to go through the entire website, that we can see the entire code that we have got here. So the huge code that we have got here, and we need to update the branding and everything. But the code base is probably new to us since we have acquired it. So now, how to go about it? So let's say, for example, consider that you are pretty much new to this code. If in case you have given a code that you have not seen before, but you want to analyze like what is happening into this code. So without any kind of an AI technology, it might take maybe a weeks or even maybe couple of weeks time to go through the entire code, understand what it is doing, and everything, right? So now that thanks to GitHub Copilot, that we don't need to do these many things, we just can be able to just have one prompt given to the GitHub Copilot, and then we should get all of the answers. All right, so to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into uh, this code. So right now, the same code has been opened into Visual Studio code. Okay, so this is the Visual Studio code. And then, for example, if you see, I do have GitHub Copilot running here. And again, just to reiterate, GitHub Copilot is nothing but an extension which is available into Visual Studio Code. So onto the left hand side here, you can see all of the extensions that you can install. So what you can do is you can just search for GitHub Copilot, and then you should be able to get to that extension. Okay, so this is the extension GitHub Copilot as well as GitHub Copilot Chat. These are the two extensions that you should use to get all of these AI things into your code. Okay, so now that coming back to our story, we are Contoso, and then probably we have acquired this Fabricam. Fabricam has got a huge source code. We don't know what kind of an source code that is, but let's say we just want to update the, or maybe update the branding, and just want to know like what kind of an source code it is. So to understand this, what we can do is we can simply take the help of GitHub Copilot. So at the top here, you can see we do have this GitHub Copilot icon, and I will just go on to the open chat. Now let me just go into new chat, and here at the bottom we do have various mode. Okay, so we do have agent mode, we do have ask mode, and we do have edit mode. Ask mode was the simplistic or very first mode which was available with GitHub Copilot, by which you can simply ask your questions about all of the context that you have set. For example, this code right now. Then there is the edit mode. That means you will be able to edit the files into workspace. And then again, agent mode is quite new one, wherein we can edit the files into the entire workspace using this mode. So let's say we simply go into the ask mode as of now, and then we simply ask this copilot like, what does the code in this workspace do, and what is the tech stack? Imagine that without GitHub Copilot, it must have taken maybe around weeks or 2 weeks of time for us. But now, with this GitHub Copilot, you can see that maybe within less than a minute, we are able to get the information. So from here, you can see that like it has taken or made a use of 39 references. That means all of the files that I do have got into this workspace. It has gone through everything, and again, it has given us a nice summary. Like this workspace contains a Fabricam web app, which is a ASP.NET Core Razor Pages application. Okay, and then it has went into the details of that, like what does this application do. So first thing is like it showcases the company services. What are the services offered by this company? It displays the company portfolio, the contact functionality, company information, and also features a modern responsive design. Okay, so this is the thing that this application does provide to the end user. But now, from the developer perspective, what kind of an functionality this application provides? So here you can see like GitHub Copilot went into those details, and it has given us the entire tech stack with which this particular application has been designed. So from here you can see that for the backend, it is using ASP.NET Core 8.0 as a web framework. Then it is also using Razor framework, Razor Pages as well as C Sharp as the programming language. For the front end, it is using HTML5, CSS3, Bootstrap, Font Awesome, and JavaScript. And another thing is it is also using some kind of a testing framework using XUnit as well as Angle Sharp and then MVC testing. So these are the frameworks it is using. The development tool which was used for this is Visual Studio 2022, and Git is the source control which is being used here because it has detected the existence of this git ignore file. Then it has also given us the key features and everything. So that means just imagine like the amount of time that you must have spent to see like what technology has been used here, but it is pretty much simple with GitHub Copilot. Now that let us go into bit complex kind of thing. Okay, so let's say for example, let me just close this down. All right. So now just imagine like we do have this GitHub Copilot here, and then or we are back into the Azure DevOps, and here we have got all of the stories. Okay, so if in case I go into the board, I go into the work items, these are all of the stories that we have got here. And then let's consider that my manager has created a story called as we want to update the Fabricam references to Contoso because as we discussed, like we are Contoso and we have acquired this company called as Fabricam, and for that reason we want to update the entire branding from Fabricam to Contoso. Okay, so the story says the same thing. Since we acquired Fabricam, we need to update all of the branding to show Contoso in the place of Fabricam. Now, for example, we know we are pretty much new to this code. If in case you ask your developer to go find these places and make the changes, it is going to take more time for them, right? Means at least maybe I will say few hours, not few hours, then at least maybe a days of efforts to see where all of this branding is coming from and then get it updated to Contoso. But again, we are going to use GitHub Copilot here. So what we will do now is that we will go into the agent mode. Okay, so we'll go into the agent mode. Let me just create a new chat here. And then what we can do is I can simply copy this image itself, which is available from here. Let me just do one thing. Let me copy it one more time. I will copy the image. I will paste it here. Okay. So here you can see that it has pasted the image. Now that what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask this GitHub Copilot like I'm going to say the context to this GitHub Copilot like we are Contoso, we purchase Fabricam. So where do I need to change the code to address the branding note in the attached screenshot? Okay, so I'm just giving the reference of screenshot. And for example, if there are any test cases associated with that, go ahead and update those as well. Another thing is from here you can choose your own model. So for example, we do have various models available right from GPT-4 or GPT models to the cloud O3 mini and everything. So please feel free to use the model that you feel more comfortable for that. We're going to go ahead with Cloud Sonnet 4, the default model that I have got here, and then that's it. So now you must have seen like I don't know very much about the coding probably, even I don't know like what framework which has been used here, but at least I have given some kind of a task that I need to accomplish. So I just have taken the same references of the story which is into my board, and then I just have given the references by setting the context to the GitHub Copilot, and you can see that it has started creating a plan for us. So now that it has taken the reference of this index is index.cs.html, it is the index page where even you can see that there is a reference of Fabricam. Okay, and then in the issue we are saying that these two references where Fabricam is mentioned, we need to get it updated to the Contoso branding. So now you can see that it has created a plan, it has started working onto the plan as well. Okay, so we are now into the agent mode, not into the ask mode. So because of that, it has also started working on that plan as well. So that's the reason you can see that we do have Fabricam being replaced with Contoso. So it is still working on those changes to find out whether there are any additional things where Fabricam has been mentioned. Even you can see like it has detected that into the email address there was a Fabricam mention, and then it will go ahead and get it changed to Contoso. Another thing or the second part that we had mentioned onto this prompt to this agent mode saying like we also want to update the test cases as well. And for that reason, when it has done with detecting all of the code where the changes needs to be made, you can see in some time that it will go to the test cases as well, and then it will start updating those test cases as well. So let it take some time. At least you can see that it has made at least 10 changes here. And one more good thing about GitHub Copilot is like you as a developer always stay in a control. So what is meant by that is GitHub Copilot, although it is making a changes into your code file, it is asking you to validate that before the changes can be committed or before the changes even can be made to this file. So for example, if you say keep, that means you are fine with those changes and you want to go ahead. If in case you say undo, so that means probably you're not happy with this, and then you don't want to proceed. Now that from here you can see that it has not only just made the changes, but it also suggesting me or asking me to run this .NET test so that it can run the test cases to verify that everything works perfectly. Okay, so I'm not going to run these test cases because it will take some time, so I will just cancel it out. But the only point here is like we as a developer always remain in control to see like what should be done and what should not be done, right? Okay, so that's it. And probably now that we are pretty much fine with this, so I will just click on keep, and then that's it, our changes are done. Now let's say I'm done with the changes, I want to again commit these changes back to my source control. So what I can do is I can come back to this place, okay, where my changes are. But now again, um, I want to have this code changes reviewed by my senior or my lead, and then from there they should get the idea about the changes that I have made, and then they should be able to make a review of it. Now that I can here, I can take a help of Copilot. Now, for example, if you see here these sparkling icons, so let's say for example instead of me typing some kind of a commit message that okay I have made these changes and so on, why not take a help from GitHub Copilot here itself? So what I will do is instead of me thinking about what code changes I have done, I will just ask GitHub Copilot to generate that for me as well. Okay, so I have written the entire code using GitHub Copilot, but also now I am asking GitHub Copilot to generate that commit message for me as well. So again, the benefit here is twofold. First thing is like it will help you to write a better commit message, and secondly, it will also help your development lead or your reviewer to see exactly what has been changed. Okay, so here you can see that it has given me the status or the commit message as well, like it has updated branding references from fabricam to contoso in about, contact and layout pages. Okay, so these are the changes that it has made. Since we have not run these test cases, it has not made any changes to the test cases, but it has detected those changes into the test cases as well. All right, so this was pretty much simple, like how we'll be able to do that. Secondly, now that let's say for example you are using Azure DevOps and for the boards as well as all of the backlog purpose, your stories, your business cases, they remain into the DevOps, Azure DevOps. But let's say we still want to go ahead and use GitHub Copilot. In that case, how we can work better on that? So at the bottom here you see we do have project setting. So we'll go into the project settings, and here we do have GitHub connections. So what we need to make do is like we just need to add a new connection to our GitHub. So just connect to your GitHub account, and that's it. Your GitHub repository is now connected to your code. Okay, so that means even you don't need to maintain this code into Azure DevOps. Now that your code will be into GitHub as well. Now in that case, how to go ahead and start working onto the work items? So again, to do that, I will go onto the work item, and here you can see that we do have another work item called as update branding to Contoso, similar kind of a work item. So now that let's say I want to start working on that, and then consider that our code, we want to maintain that into the GitHub. So in that case, I can just open up this work item probably, and then from here I can just click on these three dots, and then I can simply click on new GitHub branch. Once we click on this new GitHub branch, we should be able to name this branch like let's say Contoso branding, and I can choose like to which GitHub repository it should belong to, and you can see that it has automatically tagged this item which is issue. So I'll just click on create, and that's it. It will create a branch for me. And then you can see that linkage of that branch from here as well. So now once I click onto this branch, I will be taken to the GitHub, not onto the Azure DevOps, but I will be taken into the GitHub. And then from here, I can start working on this branch. Okay, so the branch you can see auto selected as a Contoso branding. Now, let's say, for example, to work on this change, let's say I have some changes. Maybe I'm not going to make any code changes, but I will just make or I will just do some changes into this branch. So let me, okay, let me just try to open up this one. Okay, I'm not signed it up. Okay, so let me just do one thing. Since I'm not signed up here, just to save time, probably I will just go back here and then in my another browser from where I'm already signed in, and then what I'm going to do is, let's say this is the code change which is needed for that. So I will just simply going to make some changes, like here are some code changes, that's it. So these are the code changes that should work with it, and I'm going to just commit these changes. Now when I want to commit this change, what I can do is I can add some kind of a description. Okay, so probably let's say we want to directly commit that into the main branch, or maybe by creating a new branch. So it is up to us. So I'll just click on commit branches, that's it. And then let me just open up the same thing from this browser. If I go into the work items, and if I go into here, this is the branch that we are still working on, and then we have made this code change. Okay, so from here now, if I again go back to the code, we should be able to see that this particular branch is ahead of the main branch. So for that reason, I can go ahead, compare and make a pull request. Again, same thing. I don't want to write anything here. I will just click on this GitHub Copilot icon, and then GitHub Copilot will create a summary for me. Okay, like what has been changed into this entire pull request, and here you can see that it has made that commit. Now another thing is like we are just going to make use of something called as AB hash. Okay, so we will just type AB hash, and then this is the issue number 3. So I'm just going to type number 3 here. Okay, so this is nothing but AB hash, that means linking the work item from Azure DevOps, or maybe even from your GitHub as well. So that's it. I'm just going to create a pull request. As soon as I do this pull request, this GitHub Copilot will, or the linkage will detect that I have made the pull request, and from here you can see that this is the pull request which is pending here. Okay, pending for review. And now again here you can see one tick mark, just to make sure it will just show you like all of the checks have been passed, and this looks pretty much good. So that means, let's say for example your manager is looking into the code level changes from very top level angle, they should be able to see that everything is fine. Once this particular branch has been accepted into the main branch, even you should be able to see like this issue has been closed. Okay, so we'll not go into that demo, but these are kind of an capabilities that you will be able to use for your entire functionality. All right, so now that, let us go ahead and maybe discuss about MCP.
So MCP, that is a Model Context Protocol, is an open standard designed to help the AI models access the right context during the execution. So, like plugin into the external system tools as well as the data sources. So, think of a MCP as a USB-C port for AI. So, just like USB-C provides a universal way to connect the devices, MCP also offers a consistent way for AI models to connect to external tools, APIs, and data regardless of the source. So, here is what is exactly enabled. So, the AI models can tap into the various tools and the data sources, so not just rely on their internal training. So, they can pull in real time context, policies, and credentials as well as logs and other signals through the platform like Azure API management, and this promotes also the flexibility which is fairly useful in a complex systems also. So this diagram is explain how this MCP functions as a standard bridge between the AI agents and the external through to Azure API management. So it contains on the left hand side MCP enable agents. So these are the AI powered application and agents that rely on the contextual data to operate the effectively. And on the center we have Azure API management. So this is the core integration hub in a MCP ecosystem. On the right, we have the external tools and system. So these are the MCP enabled tools and services that agents can access via the protocol. And on the bottom right, we have a Azure Monitor. So once connected, so the Azure Monitor keeps the track of everything. So there are so many key benefits also: security and governance, scalability, flexibility. So let's go ahead and check for the demo.
All right, so we are going into the last demo, like how we'll be able to use the MCP server for Azure DevOps. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go back into my Visual Studio Code again, and again, let's say for example, I have one of the project created here as a demo project, and I want to use the MCP protocol here. Before I go into that, there is a website called as https github.com/microsoft/azure DevOps MCP. So this is the server that we are going to use here, and this gives you the entire information about how to use this MCP into GitHub Copilot for ADO. So there are various MCP servers available. Have a look at that. Again, I guess after this we do have a lab on that as well. So there are various MCP servers. This one is one of that which will help you to get the information from your ADO. Okay, so from your ADO work items, your repositories, and everything. So these are all of the tools that we have got there to work with that. Now let's say for example we want to use this kind of an MCP server. So how to use that? So if you scroll down, this is the entire information that you will see to how to get started using those MCP server. So what you need to do is to use this MCP server, you will have to create a folder called as VS Code. Inside of that, we should have a file created as mcp.json. something like this. And then we just need to mention everything which is mentioned here. So what it is going to do is that it is going to run this MCP server onto stdio, which is using node.js, and then these are the parameters which are being passed to that. And as the input we are providing the ADO organization. So in this case this one is the ADO organization that we have got. For that reason, now, for example, if I go back here you can see that the ADO organization that I have provided is my organization. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start this MCP server, and then you can see that it is running right now. Now, from where we can have a look at all of the MCP servers that we have got is at the bottom here. You can see that we do have configure tools. So what I'm going to do is, or firstly, let me just go into the ask mode because we are just, oh sorry, we'll have to go into the agent mode only to use the MCP server. So I will go into this configure tools, and from here you can see that I have almost 119 tools available. So I will just make sure that this ADO server is available to us. Okay, so this is the ADO server which is available to us. That's it. And probably I will just take away a few of the other servers so that we will, so that the demo will be faster, and then it will not look out for any extra information. Okay, all right, so that's it. Okay, so now, for example, whenever we want to ask something related to our ADO, what we can do is we can simply put some prompts here. So let's say first prompt I'm going to do is like get list of ADO projects. So now, for example, if you observe this, what it is going to do is it is going to start looking at the references. So from here, you can see that since we had our MCP server running and we have it selected, it has taken up that MCP server. And then this is the tool called as core list projects. So for example, if you search here for core list projects, so this is the tool that it is going to use, which is going to retrieve a list of projects inside of your Azure DevOps organization. So again, developer is in control, so we will click on continue, then and then only this command is going to execute. So what this will do is it will go into my ADO board, and from there it will find out the projects that I have got. So from here, if I go into my Azure DevOps, you can see this is the project that I have got, and then it was able to give me the entire thing. Now, let's say, for example, if in case we want to maybe list out all of the work items, so we can simply say like get list of all work items. Maybe instead of my, I will say get list of all work items, and then it should go ahead and give us all of the work items. Okay, so the work items that we have got here, and again you can see that this is the query which is going to be run onto the MCP server, and then it will give us the entire result. So let me just run through that, and you can see it is going to run that search work item query, and then it will give us the result. Okay, so right now we do not have any work item created here. So I will say like create a work item to update the um, welcome page. Okay, okay, so the intention here is like it is not just the read only, but also you will be able to write back into the system to which you are connected, in this case ADO server, right? All right, so now that it is going to create that, so it will take some time, and then we should be able to see that work item being created. All right, so it is just asking me for which projects and everything that we should be using. Now you can see that it has created the work item. um, it has started creating that work item. It has got all the information about the states and everything that we have got, and you can see that the work item is here. So let's say for example, if you just say like open work item 7, so 7 is the work item it had created, it should be able to give us all the information. Meanwhile, let us go into the board as well just to verify that it has created work item with number 7. Okay, so here you can see that it has created work item with number 7 called as update welcome page, and then it has also given the description and everything. So this is the entire thing which is done by MCP server itself. And now just to revalidate that it is the same thing which is written by the MCP server, we will run this command, and we should be able to see same work item being reported here. Okay, so the only thing here is like, even though you are working onto the ADO server or anything else, you don't have to go back into the ADO server to look out for the information. Just inside of the IDE, that means your Visual Studio Code, you will be able to get everything, all the information at your fingertips. Okay, so that is the benefit of using this MCP server into this Visual Studio Code. All right, so I guess that was all. Probably we were overrunning, but again, I will appreciate, for example, if you can share the feedback. There is a feedback link. I'll be posting that link into the chat as well. But hopefully, this session, this short session, has given you some insights about how to use GitHub Copilot with your ADO, and then again, like how the DevOps can be reimagined using this GitHub. All right. So with that, thank you very much for inviting us. And then, if in case you want to take this discussion ahead, please feel free to get in touch with us on LinkedIn or X, or maybe onto our blogs. So once again, thank you, and back to you.